Thank you. Senator Brian Linney, District 13, Nampa, Idaho. So 1322 is an election security bill. As we've heard in the print hearing and last year, this has been in this committee. This type of bill has been in the committee a few times. Currently, the voter affidavit is available for a registered Idaho voter who shows up to the polls without an ID for whatever reason. Right now, they can just get a voter affidavit and they so sign the name and address, and then they're just given a ballot. There's no checks or balances, and that ballot gets thrown in the pile. And you know, it's not very secure in my opinion. There's no way to track down a fraudulent voter. Say they find out later down the road at the county clerk's office, hey, we got a fraudulent ballot. Well, there's no way to find that person because you can't prosecute a ghost, right? And there's also no way to tell what ballot they put in the pile. So, you know, as I've said before, I would like to get rid of the voter affidavit, but the next step in that is just making the current affidavit stronger. So what this bill does is it adds to the affidavit that instead of just name and address and here's your ballot, this bill says name and address, plus you have to provide either your driver's license number or your date of birth. And what it also does is requires the poll worker to then verify that information, call the county clerk, whatever they have to do, verify that, yes, name, address, district, driver's license. Once they verify it, then they hand them a ballot. So it is a huge step in the right direction for just, you know, voter integrity and things like that. So any questions, I'll hang out up here for a minute.
Senator Taves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Lenny, thank you for this legislation. I'm wondering, just giving your date of birth, how would that help? I mean, I imagine that you could go in and you could say a name and somebody's date of birth. They couldn't like look at you and tell whether or not you were telling the truth any better than they can now.
Senator Lenny.
Chairman Guthrie, Senator Taves, it's still a loophole in my opinion. This will, you know, this raises the bar significantly compared to what we currently have. Because you can obviously get someone's date of birth. You can get, you know, if someone wants to commit fraud, they're going to commit fraud. But this just raises the bar. And maybe we'll do this and then find out, hey, a year or two down the road, maybe we should just get rid of it. But this is kind of the next step towards that goal for me. But I mean, yeah, there's if someone wants to commit fraud, they're going to commit fraud. But this just, there's more hoops to jump through. And I would think that if someone was showing up to the polls impersonating someone or trying to fill out a voter affidavit saying they are someone they're not, if the poll worker says, hold on, I have to call and check, they might be like, okay, I'm out of here. So I think this is a huge step in the right direction personally, but I don't disagree with you.
Senator Taves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Lenny. Just with the way I'm reading this, it says voters Idaho driver's license or identification card number. So is that essentially you could, if you know the number for your driver's license or identification card, the number would allow you to do so, or is that you actually have to physically have the driver's license? Because I think that's the key, the thing that they're missing that they need right now.
Senator Lenny.
Mr. Chair, Senator Taves, yeah, they have to have the number. So people like my wife, who she knows her license plate number, her driver's license number, and I'm not kidding, she knows her library card number. So some people just have it memorized. I don't do that, but yeah, it's just, they just have to provide what it is. So.
Senator Shippey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Senator Lenny, would it be fair to say that this would also include, let's say, my wife takes off in her car and she takes my wallet accidentally with her because it got left in the car, and I want to show up and vote, but I don't have my driver's license, but she could send me a picture of it. I could have my driver's license number and then go through this channel and still vote, even though my driver's license is in Boise and I'm in New Plymouth. Is that fair to say?
Senator Lenny.
Mr. Chair, Senator Shippey, that is fair to say.
No more questions, but we do have our Secretary McGrain here, would like to testify. As always, welcome to committee. This might be your first time in the committee this year. It's always good to see you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. And yes, Mr. Chairman, you're correct. This is my first time in both committees on both houses this week. Thank you for the time, and I just want to thank Senator Lenny for working with us on this. Obviously, this has kind of been a perennial topic, so you guys have seen bills over and over again. I think Senator Lenny's raised the issue for some time regarding the personal ID affidavit. And I will say, in our conversations together, one of the things our offices have been concerned about is some of the litigation that we have faced on our voter ID laws. So we tightened our voter ID laws on my first year in office, heightening the standard. We still have one case that is navigating through the Ninth Circuit right now related to that. But the ID affidavit is part of what gives the judiciary some ability to handle those heightened requirements that we have. And so I hear about a lot of concerns in this. I think working together, we've come up with a process that addresses one of the main concerns that Senator Lenny has raised and others have, is just the idea that because we have secret ballots, once you put a ballot in the ballot box, there's no way to tie it to whoever signed the ID affidavit. What this does is really it puts the safeguards in front of the issuance of the ballot. And so exactly what you've already discussed, the poll workers would call the county clerk's office and verify this personal ID identifying information on the voter rolls. So all of the counties have access to the state voter files and all the information. So they just validate that information prior to issuing a ballot. I think your example, Senator Shippey, is a perfect example of how this would play out and work. And so we do think, I think Senator Lenny really laid it out very well in terms of this heightens it considerably, puts the safeguards in place, but still allows in those situations where somebody shows up, doesn't have an ID. And Senator Lenny mentioned it, but I'll just emphasize it too. Idaho requires that you do provide photo ID in order to register to vote. So you've already had to have shown ID at some point in the process. This is just now on the actual day of voting, adding this additional requirement. So I think in terms of just election integrity, this bill achieves a lot on that front. And just really, I think in the litigation space, this is important to us trying to strike that balance. I will note from the county clerks, we've already been talking about them, about the practical aspects of this. And the one thing is we do, out of the 1,000 precincts that we have in the state, there are a couple of precincts that definitely don't have cell service. And I was talking to Kathy Ackerman, she's the Idaho County Clerk, so she has the most rural part of the state. There are a few that may not have landlines, but our office will easily be able to work with her for those limited number of precincts that we need to come up with an alternative path to verify the voter information. But I think it's very easy for us to come up with a path to do that.
Questions for Secretary McGrain, Senator Taves?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary McGrain, thank you for being here. I agree on the driver's license, that number. I think that that's unique and not readily available. I'm really concerned about the date of birth. Can you explain how that would be useful at all? And then if you're at all open to amending it to remove the date of birth.
Secretary McGrain.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Taves, I think, when we talk, and I will say I'm spending a lot of time on this conversation about personal identifying information and what's considered private, date of birth typically is still considered not common enough that other people would necessarily know it. Your point is valid, whether it's driver's license, social security number, you can probably buy some of this information off the internet these days just because of that. But it would take a whole heightened level of somebody trying to commit fraud to do this. I agree very much with what Senator Lenny said too. The mere act of putting in the process, like delaying your voting experience to validate the information, I also think is a deterrent to any fraudsters in the process. My concern with removing date of birth is that's more likely something somebody's going to know and remember when they're filling out the ID affidavit. And I think just to emphasize, same thing Senator Lenny said is, we are making a big step here in terms of tightening this process up, but still allowing it to remain available. So personally, I think it should stay where it is because driver's license isn't as common. The other piece of data that we have is social security numbers. We could always talk about that piece as well. But I will say that there's a sense of sensitivity among voters about all this information too.
I don't see any other questions. Thank you, Secretary, for being in committee. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this that didn't get signed up? Senator Lenny, would you like to close? You're good? Committee? Senator Shippey,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for a motion.
motion's in order.
I move to send Senate Bill 1322 to the floor with a due pass recommendation.
Motion by Senator Shippey, second by Senator Den Hartog, that Senate Bill 1322 be sent to the floor with a recommendation that do pass. Discussion? Not seeing, Senator Ruckey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be voting in favor of the bill, and I appreciate the changes that have been made to it. I just wanted to make a brief comment. I've just noticed over the last few sessions when we've talked about affidavits, not just when it comes to voting, but it just seems like it comes up whenever an affidavit is part of a statutory requirement. There seems to be kind of almost a dismissive attitude towards affidavits. And I get it. If somebody's going to lie, they're going to lie. You know, if they're intentionally trying to deceive, they can do that. But an affidavit is a pretty significant document. I mean, it's, number one, it's a written document that somebody is going to sign. It's a sworn statement. You're promising to tell the truth. Perhaps I'm a little old-fashioned, but I think promises to tell the truth are taken seriously by people, especially when it's put in writing and it's a public document. Courts rely on them all the time. In fact, they couldn't do their business without having the ability to receive factual statements by way of affidavits. So anyway, it's a comment, but I hope that, we take affidavits seriously and realize that they are an important document. A sworn statement is a sworn statement that what you're saying is true. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. And in all seriousness, we're very fortunate to have a couple of attorneys on this committee because that's so many times very helpful. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. Those in favor of sending the bill to the floor with a due pass indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion is carried.